Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I'm going to talk about what you should be doing to prepare for Famine. That is the next Horseman. We're going to talk through sort of which characters to upgrade, where to focus, how much to upgrade, and so on. I'm just going to say as a starting point, we do have some important information here. A-Force, Young Avengers, or Inhuman are the characters that you'll need for difficulty 5 and above for nodes 5 and 10. In other words, the two nodes that you're going to have very limited characters for are going to require these three teams. Just like last time, there was a couple nodes that required Web Warriors and Dark Hunters. These are the three teams you'll need here. Now, I will say most of you probably haven't invested heavily in these teams. A-Force is very new. It's just a war offense team. Young Avengers is a war defense team. And Inhumans is slow and power crept. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, wait, I don't want to invest in these teams, and I can't blame you. And I am going to talk at the end about how hard do you want to go for Famine anyway. We will talk a little bit about that. But, this is a team, for example, many of you may have skipped because it's a war defense team. A-Force is a team that you may not have really planned to go hard on because this is a team most of you would skip as just another war offense team, right? For a lot of you, these are teams you'd skip, and that, of course, is the purpose of this event. So here's what I would just say as a starting point for all of you. Do not, at this stage of the game, with the information we have, which is basically just that email, do not just start throwing gear on these characters. Do not commit yourself to build one team high unless you have tons of resources. Now, I know, you're going to tell me, wait, Philosopher, some other content creator told me to do that. I have no idea. I haven't watched anyone else's videos, but maybe people are. Maybe your friends are telling you to do that. If you need these teams for other reasons, go ahead. In other words, I brought my A-Force up, not only because I'm a content creator, but because I need them for war at my level. But if you weren't going to build this team anyway, and you don't have tons and tons of gear, and I imagine most people don't because there's so many teams to build, why would you commit gear to these teams now without knowing exactly which team you need to have the biggest, right? In other words, this is what I mean. In the last event, there was two teams, not three, Web Warriors and Dark Hunters. Well, Web Warriors, it turns out you needed to have super massive, if you wanted to do really well in the event. And basically, the bigger you had them, whatever level you were trying to get, whether you're trying to get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 star of Morgan Le Fay, the size of your Web Warriors was ultimately going to be the gating factor for you, right? This other team, Dark Hunters, turned out to be not as important. And yes, you needed them kind of as a SAC team. If it was very hard to do it without having them as a SAC team, it's possible, but very hard to do it without them at the higher levels with more scourges and more difficulty and so on. But you didn't need them nearly as high as the Web Warriors. But it didn't have to be that way, right? If Node 5 had like 10 Elsas on it, then shooting out and killing the Web Warriors whenever they dodged, Dark Hunters would have been the more important team. It was not preordained that Web Warriors were going to be the more important team. And so as we sit here today, I can tell you in a vacuum which of these teams are stronger than the others. But what I can't tell you is which team is going to be most important for this scourge. So if you really are focused on Famine and competing in Famine, the most important thing you can do is just hold on to resources that aren't scarce. In other words, some of you obviously are going to try to complete your gold milestones every day, right? You go here and, for your high rollers, a lot of people are like, look, I really want to get through, some of these, I like to get to the here, or maybe, you're just trying to get through 1 million, whatever it is. Totally understand throwing some gold at these characters. That's fine. But when it comes to teal gear, when it comes to SBCs, other types of gear that could be scarce to you, hold off and get more information first. All right, so now let's talk about these teams in the abstract. So let's just say you had tons of gear and you're trying to decide, well, without knowing anything more about the event, this would be the team that I think would be logical to invest in the most because they perform very well. they're a team that's pretty strong in all game modes once you get them super big. They scale very well with gear, so the bigger you make them, the better they do. Squirrel Girl's a strong kind of plug and play character, even outside of this team. She's a character you could just stick in a lot of teams and she'll make it better. So there's some good things about this team. They do counter Infinity Watch in like Avengers Tower. I imagine they'll do the same in Cosmic Crucible. That's cool. You probably already have Miles built up, though, so you might be able to take out, let's say, America Chavez and throw him in as the 5th character. How important it is to have, let's say, America Chavez, who's Mystic, right? Mystic character. A lot of you don't have tons of Mystic here right now. You may just want to have Miles sub in, right? So he's a member of the team, but usually he's on the Web Warriors. Okay, so that's certainly, if you're just have ants in your pants, you can't wait, or you have tons of gear, this would be the most logical team in the abstract. Doesn't mean that's what Scopely's going to encourage you to do, but it's certainly the most logical. A-Force, we don't really know how good they are. They seem like they're made to counter teams like Young Avengers, and generally speaking, I prefer war offense teams to war defense teams, but we don't know. One of the characters isn't out. Spider-Woman, most of us have pretty small, and there's no 5th character yet. Now, one logical 5th character is Yo-Yo, who's an Inhuman, and it remains to be seen how helpful she's going to be, how important this team is. Are they going to be like Dark Hunters, more of a sack team? Or maybe Scopely makes it so they're more important because they get some guy with a spreadsheet who says, well, actually, we haven't had a lot of investment in Nico Moreno or Spider-Woman, and they want to focus on that. Now, in Humans, this is a very power creep team. They just don't hold up to the other characters. I will note, of course, Miss Marvel counts as both. But, for example, Black Bolt and Yo-Yo, I say, are the best of the Inhumans. Yo-Yo's got very good synergy with the A-Force, so I could see bringing her up just to sort of mesh with the A-Force. Black Bolt nowadays is very power crept, even if you have him big, as many of us do. Crystal is sort of the, quote, other good Inhuman. She does synergize well. A lot of folks still use Black Bolt, Yo-Yo, and Crystal as like a 3-piece with a couple other characters and more defense. They're not very good, but they're okay-ish nowadays. Quake and Karnak, not very important, not very good. But we don't know, right? Karnak does do some very random things very well. He does have this ultimate that clears all positive effects and applies Disrupted. And for all we know, there's one spot and one of the nodes that he's helpful on. I guess my take would be I would not touch Inhumans really, even with my spare gear or my gold, until we really got a sense of how needed or helpful they were in these nodes. It may be that they don't really matter much, that Scopely threw them in just as a sop to players who, can't get their hands on the other two teams. I don't know. But, it may be that they could be helpful. It may be that just Yo-Yo's useful with A-Force. We just don't know. So I guess, my takeaway now is if I was going to focus on a team, I would focus on Young Avengers. For many of you, I would leave off America Chavez because you're probably low on Mystic Gear, and she's arguably the least important member of the team. But generally speaking, I would not, commit myself yet. But I also think you need to really take a step back here for a minute before just a kind of at a macro level here. How much do you really care about Famine? Now, I know right now the game is all about going all in on the Horsemen, and it's all about Horsemen. But we don't even know what game mode this Horseman is going to be for, and but the guess that a lot of people have is that it's going to be Crucible, that it's going to go with the new X-Men team, that it'll be a Crucible character. We just don't know. But if this new Horseman's a Crucible character, I'd really, if I were somebody who was low on gear, I'd really look very carefully at that kit before going all in on this Horseman. We don't know what you'll need for Apocalypse at the end, and I think that would be the counter argument. But when you look at these Crucible rewards, and we did have a blog recently, they don't look overwhelming. the difference between finishing in first place and last place is really not that significant here. Not at all. And when you actually, look at the Crucible rewards, okay, that you're going to get from that, it's just not that exciting. You'll get a few pieces of gear. It's not like you're going to be, tons of teal gear. They said this isn't tons of teal gear to me. Okay, this is just more BS from Scopely. So if I were in your shoes, what I would do is wait and see what Crucible's like, wait and see what the new Horseman looks like, and make a decision about how hard to go. And I wouldn't, and before I committed that gear, I would wait and see, which team was really the best in Notes 5 and 10, because right now we can't all keep up. You can't build for this patch. You're not going to be able to build the new X-Men team and the A-Force team and the Wakandan team, and then also, if you don't have it already, get Young Avengers and Humans up. That's just not plausible for everybody, right? Almost no players can do that. So you're going to have to pick and choose. And to me, the smart move is to make investments with more information versus flying blind with less information. So be careful, be cautious, be smart about the improvements in the choices that you do make. But if you just can't hold yourself back, you need to invest now. I do think Young Avengers holding off on America Chavez probably the safest investment of the group, although in the end, primarily a war defense team. All right, guys, if you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. If you have comments, questions, cheers, jeers, happy, sad, angry, mad, you can put it below or go to my Discord. You can also go to my Twitch stream. That is linked below too.